Trump advisor subpoenaed by the January 6th committee, and more. There's plenty to talk about with my next guest. He is California Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and member of the January 6th Select Committee, and author of Midnight in Washington, How We Almost Lost Our Democracy and Still Could. Congressman, I want your take on the fact that the National Archives is asking the Justice Department to investigate the former president's handling of these White House records. Do you think there's any possible criminal exposure, particularly if there were any classified documents he took to Mar-a-Lago, as the New York Times is reporting tonight?
Well, first of all, I think they're absolutely right to make the referral to the Justice Department because there's public reporting, and the archives may know more than this, that the president was repeatedly warned that he couldn't destroy these documents, that he would be violating the law if he did so. And so it looks very willful. And if there's evidence of potential willfulness in the destruction of documents, that is the kind of case that if any case is going to be prosecuted, might be prosecuted. Now, there's not much precedent for enforcement, vigorous enforcement of this provision. So I wouldn't want to lead to the conclusion that that's going to happen. But if it were to happen, it's a case like this where it appears to be a willful decision. And the classified allegation is much more serious in my view. That is that Donald Trump brought to Mar-a-Lago in an unsecure location in boxes that others may have access to classified information. If that allegation proves correct, the Justice Department, in my view, will have to investigate. It would be, I think, intolerable for the department to have investigated Hillary Clinton over handling of classified emails and ignore allegations that Donald Trump may have brought classified documents and violated classification by bringing them to Mar-a-Lago. So beside the jaw-dropping, heart-stopping, grab you by the throat hypocrisy of it, I think the Justice Department would have to look at those allegations very seriously and investigate them if, in fact, there are reasons to believe that there are classified materials among those boxes.
Has the January 6th committee, have you received all relevant documents at this point, or is there anything missing?
No, we haven't received all the relevant documents. Certainly the archives is beefing up their staffing on this task, which we need them to do because there's a real urgency here. The courts, all the way up to the Supreme Court, have ruled in our favor. But while we've received several tranches of documents, there are more documents to be produced. And the same process has to be followed. That is, the archives notifies the current president, notifies the former president. If the former president objects, then there is a litigation process. Now, I think that process will be even more expedited than the first time, and the first time it went up to the court, the Supreme Court, very quickly. But no, we expect to get many, many more documents from the archives.
I want to ask you about the Select Committee subpoena of former White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro. He put out a statement which in reads part, as the domestic terrorists running the January 6th partisan witch hunt are well aware, President Trump has invoked executive privilege and it is not my privilege to waive, end quote. So what's your response, obviously, to that defiant, absurd statement there, and how far is the committee willing to go to get him to talk?
Well, that kind of statement is really worthy, I guess, of the former president, in which he is modeling himself after. The kind of Alice in Wonderland. No, the people who viciously attacked police officers in the Capitol, they're not domestic terrorists. It's the people who are investigating them who are. So it's certainly true to form of someone who, by his own admission, was creating a plan to overturn the election, a plan which he claims the former president, supported. If he's willing to talk about it in interviews, if he's willing to write about it in his book, he should be willing to come in and talk to our committee about it. And it's difficult, I think, for him to maintain, as it was for Mark Meadows, the things he can freely talk about to the press in his book are somehow covered by a privilege preventing him from testifying to Congress about.
So there's reporting in the Washington Post tonight that Rudy Giuliani, the former president's attorney, asked a Michigan prosecutor to give voting machines to Trump's team in the weeks after the election. So is that something your committee is investigating or wants to investigate?
We are certainly investigating the whole constellation of issues around efforts to obtain voting machines. either by the campaign or by the Trump administration. To me, this is one of the most shocking revelations, are these public reports. At this point, I can only refer to the public reports, that there were multiple efforts to persuade the president to either use the military or the Justice Department or the Department of Homeland Security or some other government agency to seize the voting machines of state and local jurisdictions. That's the kind of thing you see in the third world. You don't expect to see that in what we would hope would be the most advanced democracy in the world, but it's real tin pot dictator kind of stuff. And if these allegations involving Rudy Giuliani prove to be correct, that you have someone who is a very top advisor to the president who is integrally involved in this, it's another line of responsibility going very high in the Trump hierarchy in one of these very important lines of effort to overturn the election.
Congressman Adam Schiff, I appreciate you being with us today.